Lothians Speak Their Name is a project which was set up to create a quilt in memory of people who have died by suicide in Edinburgh and the Lothians. 49 people have made squares in memory of their loved ones, which hold the stories of their loves and lives.
My name's Mags and I lost my son Darren. He was aged 38 at the time, 5 years ago. We've just had his 5th anniversary on the 1st of April there, and we just had his 44th birthday 2 weeks ago, so it's been quite a sad time. And he was my firstborn, love of my life.
Yeah. I'm Siobhan. I lost my younger sister Carolyn to suicide 4 years ago.
My younger sister.
Yeah, she was my only sister, my only siblings, so the impact of that is massive because it's just me now, you know. With a sister, it's like it's your whole childhood, it's everything you did together, all the sort of growing up together, all the naughty things you did together, all the secrets you kept, sort of confiding in each other, teenage years, all of that, Christmas, birthdays, everything. It was only just the two of us, so it's a massive impact, a massive loss. I've lost my best friend, really, my other half.
Yeah. My name's Ailey. I lost my dad when I was 2 years old, so about 23 years ago now, and yeah, he took his own life.
It's been 27 years since I lost my dad, and to me the stigma back then to now hasn't really changed much. You know, the way people feel about losing somebody by suicide, or, you know, talking about how they died. If my dad had died, you know, in a car accident or from an illness, people wouldn't focus so much on how he died. Yeah, compared to how they do when it's suicide. Yeah. And I think many people feel like that.
He used to say that his illness was nobody else's business, it was his business.
Yeah.
But I felt when, and I think to do with the stigma and the shame that people have and how they think that is going to affect their careers and things like that, he really kept it to himself. Yeah. But after he died, I remember thinking to myself, well, by not talking about it, all I'm doing is contributing to the stigma. And it was the stigma that prevented Mike getting help and the support. And even thinking that that it would work for him, because he sort of felt that nothing would ever work. Yeah. You know.
And my aunt died 42 years ago. John died 23 years ago, and sometimes it still feels that nothing has changed.
In Scotland in 2023, 792 people died by suicide. That was 30 more than in the previous year. 30 more families bereaved. 590 of those people were male. 3 times more men than women die by suicide every year. Scotland has the highest rate of suicide in the UK.
And you know, I mean, for me it's 23 years on. It's different now, but it's not gone. It will never be gone. Those feelings, that loss will be with me forever. It changes with time, but it doesn't go away.
It's a horrible thing. I mean, the grief, losing somebody, suicide's awful. If it was a natural way of dying, but to lose them just that you weren't there and you didn't understand what they were going through. It's just a horrible thing for any family to go through. I mean, we just don't have a life anymore. We've lost so many friends because people don't know how to approach us.
People don't know what to talk, don't know what to say.
They don't know what to say to us. No, and the minute we mention our son, it's like, oh, they back off.
Yeah. It's not
As
nice.
soon as you say the word suicide.
Yeah, it's the minute the word suicide is mentioned, people just, whoa. Yeah.
I think as well, when it is a suicide, you feel as though you have to explain why that person died by suicide, and or give a reason why, if it is by natural death or causes. People just accept it for what it is.
Yeah.
But when it's a suicide, you feel as though you're having to
Explain.
why
Yeah.
you've died,
And we don't know.
We don't
Yeah.
know.
Either that, or it completely shuts down the conversation and
Absolutely.
and people
Exactly.
don't know what to say.
Exactly.
People who are bereaved by suicide are 65% more likely than those bereaved in other ways to make an attempt on their own life. This is a lifetime risk.
When I heard about doing the square, it drew me in right away, because we were both very creative, our family's very creative, so it was a natural thing for me to feel, yeah, I can do that. It's something, and it was something sort of concrete, something real that I could start to maybe mend and heal with, because I was in a group of people that really understood, that really got it, because I found sort of socialising going out quite difficult. I'd avoided that over the last few years because my story is because it's hard and it's sad, you don't want to inflict that on everybody else, but the group of people making their squares were all in the same boat as me, you know, everybody understood. There was a real gentle, understanding softness to that.
As well as creating a beautiful memorial to remember the people we've lost, we've also brought people together in a community where they've found friendship and support. The quilt is about how people live their lives, not about the way they died.
So that was real serendipity, wasn't it? That
It was.
I had
It
the
was.
idea, and then you were already on the list.
I was already
Yeah.
there. Yeah, because I think, didn't you say when you got in touch with Anna, she says, "Oh yeah, she says already somebody from
Yeah,
Scotland."
but you were the only one.
Yeah.
You were the only one.
Was I? Oh,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
okay.
You were only the person on the list, and I'd already nobbled Susan for obvious reasons, because we'd known each other for a very long time,
Yeah.
hadn't we?
Yes, and we'd worked on the Great Tapestry of Scotland
Yeah.
together,
Yeah.
and we'd been to craft group together
Yeah.
as well, so
Yeah.
we both knew that we were able to make the quilt.
Yeah, yeah. Well, also very helpful that you run a quilting
Yeah,
business. but I think for us, that whole community crafting thing was really important, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
definitely.
I mean,
Yeah.
you've done a lot of other craft scenarios. You know, you've done craft in different ways, but in terms of group crafting, I mean, I think doing the tapestries and the other projects that we did, the herring trail and all of those kind of things, was really good.
Yes, and it does bring people together, and that's been clear throughout the project as well, that as people have been making their squares, they've found enjoyment or rediscovered enjoyment for the crafts
Yeah.
or sewing or
Yeah.
whatever it be,
Yeah.
which is really important.
Yeah, and I think certainly what I hoped, and I think probably we all did before we started, was that for people who'd never been able to talk about their loss or found it really hard, that actually doing something,
The shifts, the
it
focus
does,
shifted.
Yeah.
you've got something else to focus on, and the talking just happens on the side.
Absolutely.
And we found that happened, didn't it, in the
Yeah.
workshops?
And the workshops weren't sad.
Nope.
They were, you know, there was sad moments, but there was a lot of laughter and
Yeah.
people remembering their loved ones in, you know, really positive ways.
Yeah, and I think being able to talk about them because they were thinking about what they were going to put on their squares, that actually that whole process of thinking about who was my person and what is it that I want to convey about them, and that really came out in the conversations that we had, and the fact that a lot of people are now doing crafts that they hadn't done for years or have never done before, and discovered actually that it's really therapeutic.
Yeah.
That there is a comfort that you can get from it, but also a distraction, and you end up creating something beautiful at the end of
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Getting that creativity down onto something started to open up my brain and make me think, rather than just concentrating on the day my sister died and how that's impacted me afterwards, it was almost like a trigger to start thinking about, well, actually, who is she, what was she all about, and then I started to sort of, rather than dismiss everything that had happened before, started to celebrate her again and be able to talk about her in that group and sing. You know, she was a fantastic musician. She was a violin player and a fiddler, and there was a little scrap of paper that she'd drawn a little sketch of a fiddle on, and it was just represented. It wasn't perfect, it was sort of sketchy, it was really creative, and I thought there was no doubt about the image I was going to use on my square. You know, that was the one I wanted to do. So it's a really sort of delicate outline. It's exactly as she drew it with her name, and it just feels like her. It's just right. It represents her, the fiddler, the musician, the creativity, and that's her.
My son was a Hibs fan, and his favourite song was Sunshine on Leith. So I've done 2 hearts in purple because that was the Hibs colour, and I've got an embroidered sun at the top, and I've got his name, Darren Wood, and then I've got sorrow, sorrow, my heart was broken, because that's the words from the song Sunshine on Leith, and it was just his favourite song, so that's why I wanted to do a square dedicated to him like that.
So my square was obviously for my dad, and I wanted to include some of the things that he loved when he was alive and some of the things that I've kind of come to love in my own way. I obviously didn't really have the opportunity to know my dad, but I'm often told by a lot of people, and kind of from stories that they've shared over the years, that they can definitely see bits of him in me. So the water, the mountains, they were really key bits of my square for me.
I think it's genuine, it's real people. It's not just numbers and statistics and names, it's real people. Every little square that people were making had a real true identity, who that person was and who they meant to you, and it's you know, it matters. They're real people, because you hear numbers being banded around and you hear things on the news all the time, and it's like, it's awful, it's tragic, but it's real. It's his reality. These are real people, and you know, they have lives, and they had lives, and they matter, and everybody matters, and you matter. You know, so it's something that when it's toured, that it's personal. It's not just a number on a billboard. It's real. I'm really glad I found the space to do it. I'm really glad I was brave enough to come along and do it, because it's hard joining anything. It's hard doing that. It's hard opening up and putting it all down. But I'm really glad I've done it. It's been really helpful for me as well.
For all the ways we're alike, which I'm grateful for, one of my biggest fears has always been that I have those same negative and suicidal thoughts as my dad. When I was in high school, I struggled with my own mental health. Some of that was to do with my own stuff, and some of that came from the impact which Dad's death has had on me. I went through a phase of having regular panic attacks, and looking back on it now, I know I was depressed for a number of months during that period. I got a lot of support from Richmond's Hope Bereavement Charity, CBT from CAMS, and through surf therapy with the Wave Project, and I'm so grateful for this. The grief that I feel for my dad not being here is immense, but his death has had wider repercussions for all of us. I was 2 when he died. My brother was only 2 weeks old. 23 years on, it still feels as hard as it did then. We can't know what was in his head, but I think part of him may have felt he was doing us a favour when he took his own life, that maybe he was removing a problem and making things easier for us. But I feel him in every moment he's not here for. Birthdays, my graduations, if I ever get married one day or have kids. In all those big things and all the ordinary days in between, I've been denied having my dad there. There is never just one person impacted by suicide. The loss of my dad will never get easier or fade, but in his death, we all lost the lives we'd have lived if he'd still been here. The impact of his death, like with any death by suicide, ripples through many lives for many years after the person is gone.
You can see our quilt in venues around Edinburgh and the Lothians. Details are available at Lothians Speak Their Name Quilt on our Facebook and Instagram pages.
We hope after people see the quilt, they'll keep talking about it and really understand the importance of seeking support when things feel beyond help. Please know, they never are beyond help.